Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing News.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. We're just going to start breaking this down and be honestly unbiased about Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua. And, a lot has been going on. And, Andy Ruiz trainer Manny Robles came out and states that Andy Ruiz Jr. is not in great shape for the Anthony Joshua rematch. And this is a direct quote from him. He said he's not in great shape, but he's hitting the gym back home in Imperial. He's running the treadmill, but obviously we haven't fully begun training camp. Once we do, we have close to 4 months to get ready for the fight. That's enough time to get him in shape. Let's hope we can get him back in the gym real soon and get him going again. Basically, Andy Ruiz Jr. right now is not very happy with the location of the rematch in Saudi Arabia. He wants it to be held in America. And that's also a strategic reason for Andy Ruiz, because if you look at it, it allows him more time to train, to get in shape, be more comfortable being in the U.S. Because if he has to fly into Saudi Arabia, that cuts into his training camp. So you have to understand that since he's not the A side, Anthony Joshua is, because he signed this in the original contract, this is going to be, another hurdle for Andy Ruiz Jr. to step into. And the problem with Andy Ruiz Jr. is, he should have been somewhat in shape at this point, And at this point, most people say, well, almost 4 months is enough time to get in shape. You're absolutely right about that. But here's what people are negating. This is what people are overlooking is if he spends all of his time getting in shape, how much time is he dedicating to improving and crafting his skills? None, because he's spending all of his time getting in shape. So that means to tell you that he doesn't feel like he needs to make any significant adjustments. He's going to come in the same fighter he was in the first fight, and he's just going to come in shape. If that's your only game plan, that's a problem, because you understand that Anthony Joshua is a former unified world champion. He dropped Andy Ruiz early in the fight first. So Andy Ruiz should be taking it seriously, but I feel like he's not noticing and seeing Anthony Joshua as the true tremendous athlete that he really is, because the victory in the first fight came too easy. Now, a couple of things about Anthony Joshua have been going on. Anthony Joshua basically broke his silence over, being knocked out in sparring before the Andy Ruiz fight against Joey DeVaco, and he basically came out and said, I feel like people more interested in their 5 minutes of fame. Even in sparring, everyone wants to be famous rather than a good fighter. Silly stories about knocking me down and all that stuff. So it's clear that Anthony Joshua had never been knocked down in sparring. So he came into the fight and he had never been knocked down. He had never been hurt in sparring. So, a lot of people saying Anthony Joshua has a weak chin. If he had a weak chin, Alexander Povetkin would have knocked him out. If he had a weak chin, Dillian White would have knocked him out. These are very hard and strong, accomplished fighters. Even Vladimir Klitschko not only would have dropped him, but knocked him out. You see Anthony Joshua has a solid chin, and I'm glad that myth has been debunked. And I'm glad that Anthony Joshua spoke about it. And then you see more, in regards to Anthony Joshua coming out. Anthony Joshua responds to claims he suffered a panic attack before the fight, basically laughing off the claim, saying he wasn't knocked out. He even stated, and I quote, "What's a panic attack?" He replied, No, I did not have a panic attack. So that also shows that Anthony Joshua was not weak-minded. A lot of the things that people just thought Anthony Joshua either panicked or got knocked out before the fight, he's shown that he's very strong-willed, determined. And then Anthony Joshua came out and even made another statement and basically stated that Andy Ruiz is not that skillful and only knocked him out with a lucky punch from the gods. And so that's a very interesting thing. So for him to say that he lost the initial fight on a lucky punch with Andy Ruiz Jr., and he says if he fights just a little bit smarter in the rematch with Andy Ruiz, he should, win the fight comfortably. Andy Ruiz is not that skillful. And I found that very interesting that he would say that. And a lot of people saying, oh, Anthony Joshua this, Anthony Joshua that. But then you also have to look at what Andy Ruiz has said, because Anthony Joshua was 100% respectful, 100%, giving props to Andy Ruiz after the fight. But Andy Ruiz started talking. And this is what he started saying. He said Anthony Joshua was a robot. He fights like a robot. He's built like a robot. And then he came out and said other comments about Anthony Joshua and the fact that he's not good at boxing. He's not a good boxer. So, and we all know that's not true, because if Anthony Joshua wasn't a good boxer, he would have never been a unified champion. He would have never beat a Hall of Famer in Vladimir Klitschko. He would have never been a top fighter in Dillian White, Joseph Parker. So Anthony Joshua is a very consistent and skilled fighter, and Anthony Joshua dropped Andy Ruiz. So at the end of the day, the fact that Andy Ruiz is spending, close to 4 months just trying to get in shape rather than perfecting his craft and his skills should worry Andy Ruiz, because at the end of the day, Anthony Joshua will make adjustments. He will use his height, his reach, his jab, and be in tremendous shape. He will not be overlooking Andy Ruiz for this fight, and that's why I have to favor Anthony Joshua going into this fight. I think it's still close to a 50-50 fight because of Andy Ruiz's hand speed, but I simply think that Anthony Joshua will be too much in the second fight. But once again, Unbiased as always is the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.